through a telco versus doing it yourself. Let's face it, I mean, a telco could be using, from a technology perspective, one platform. You're using a different one, okay? You're going direct in some way, right? You have your own subscribers. You're still offering your content as a premium offering through the telcos. And how do you sort of converge the experience? Because if I'm a customer of OSN through Etisalat or Do, I probably don't have the same experience that I do if I have a box from you, right?
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, there's a difference, right? Obviously, we try to keep it as close as possible, but you know, in the end of the day, we don't control the IPTV network. Neither does the telco or IPTV provider control us. So we find a middle way. So usually in the agreements with the IPTV providers, it will be a matter of, okay, at least the packaging, naming, and the pricing are determined by OSN, but delivery and how it gets into the set-top box is basically a decision of the IPTV as long as it's a secure platform. So there's a matter of finding the right balance between the two. So that's on the content delivery side, on the linear DTH channels that basically get pushed through on the IPTV network, and then you have the OTT services, which brings a whole new dimension to the conversation. So there it's a matter of, okay, do we actually have a platform that we can share on? And that tends to be a bigger challenge. When
you mean share, you don't just mean share content technology, you mean share users and databases perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, that might be users, but even, there's a couple of historical background issues there, as well as legislation. So a lot of the IPTV networks are built up from a telco, who in a large amount of cases are owned by the government. Yeah. And they are quite strict with regards to data sharing of their subscriber base, which I can fully understand. Mm-hmm. I mean, OSN is not just going to give everybody a copy of their subscriber base.
No, of course.
Yes, it's logical. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to find a way where the authentication of services is actually a piece of middleware. So, in the end of the day, this is something that, purely from an OSN perspective, so a little bit selfish, where, we want to have that authentication platform in the middle. And it doesn't really matter who runs that, as long as the IPTV provider and us as a broadcaster can actually link together, and an OSN subscriber on the Do network, for instance, can use OSN Play and authenticate at the same time, technically there is no issue. But there are the challenges as to, okay, we should actually collaborate and we should really work together a little bit more tightly instead of all trying to reinvent the wheel in our own little way. And that's,
But that's exactly what's happening. Yeah, that's...
Yeah, for us, the biggest challenge for us is that we could do it easily if we had one IPTV partner, but we don't. We have many of them. So, you can't really do the same integration 40 times. That becomes really, really difficult from a management point of view. But we're getting there. I mean, very, very, very close.
Good, awesome, excellent.
Sorry, Jamal, just a quick...
I'm moving on, I'll move it up. Okay.
Need to wind up in 5 minutes, if you don't mind?
Yeah, we can get there. So just quickly then, just moving on to monetization, I'll, Uma, very briefly, if you could just start and tell us, you've been in the industry here. Today you were the operator, prior you were with the vendor. So what have you seen in terms of monetization methods in the region, and that's worked and that hasn't worked?
Obviously in this region, when we talk about advertising, it's still very much at the infancy stage. And the whole concept of advertising and creating a new revenue stream from that, I can see there's very few players in region that actually adopted that model. I think we've still got progression to make in terms of getting the right publishers, the right advertising models in place. Mm-hmm. But traditionally, I think it's just been subscription as well as revenue share model. The revenue share model has slacked, and it's subscription. But we also got to remember that we're in a region where you've got over 250 channels, and you've got small channels coming on, and they're forced to put themselves in connected devices, because they have to be seen to be on every single device, and they're not going to come out with any online monetizing strategy. So typically they would use the YouTube model, you know, and gets them to the connected device, gets them free to digital, they don't have to pay for any advertising, etc. But sooner or later it's going to have to be adopted, because if your brand is important and you want brand recognition, you need to have your own in control in your house to be able to monetize on that. And do as a provider in terms of trying to give people the right analytics is why we engage with the right players in the business to be able to give them source information about how their eyeball is watching their content, what are they doing with their content, how long are they watching, you know, is it popular, at what point do you put an advert, at what point do you...
That's a good point. I jumped to Robin, I'll just come back to you. What do you think? Are we at that point? What's the magic number here for eyeballs, especially online?
The 30-second spot is here to stay, I can tell you that. If you're a broadcaster, it's not going to go away. It still takes maybe 90% of the money here. There's some money going on to these new tablets and new forms, but not very much. And so, you know, that's still growing, and the money is still there. And the interesting thing is why it isn't growing is because there's lack of data. It's very interesting. With two sides here said, I've got data and I've got data, but I'm not sharing it with you. I might share a bit. And in the end, and you do that because the data is incredibly valuable.
Yeah.
To the advertiser, it's very, very valuable. So you don't want to give it away, and you don't want to give your data away because that's worth money to you. And in the end, these guys are here to make money, and I can understand that. So, you know, you're still going to have the free-to-air 30-second spot still delivering mass audiences because that's what the buyers want. The Unilevers, the Procter & Gamble's, the Mars, these guys want big audiences to build brand. Yeah. But beyond that, as you drill down into that data, you're going to find more and more exclusive advertising based, depending on these platforms, on what you can deliver. And I'm afraid that it is going to have a problem for the free-to-air guys because they're going to struggle with that.
You know, we have a dilemma in NBC. We've seen the TV rate card versus the online rate card.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's a huge difference. A huge difference in terms of measured viewership on the online, and the advertiser is still not buying it because they say, you know, I put on NBC an ad with people seeing it from Mauritania to Oman for this much, and you want to charge me this much for a limited number. That's even 5 million unique visitors. It's for them, it's still a limited number. It's working. We're working closely with digital ad agencies because these are the guys who brings advertising to the online. We don't talk to the advertiser directly. There is always a middleman, and we try to develop models and grow that models in terms of online advertising.
Okay. But the graph is doing that, and at some stage it will cross. And the question is, at what point do you position yourself for that crossover, and how soon and how far up the curve do you go to make sure you're in the right position to do that? And I think, you know, we spend a lot of time in Harris looking at this stuff, and I can tell you in different markets it moves at different rates, of course. In this market, you know, if you look at the money, and I know there's a session on advertising later, so we won't go into that, but the amount of money that's spent on TV advertising here compared to the audience is a fraction of what it should be. And that's to do with data management, and because there's no ratings. But that's what you guys have.
Half of the industry strategists see online as a disruptive technology, especially if it's owned by a broadcaster. They're seeing it as a disruptive technology and should not be supported. Just keep it there as a brand extension, stickiness. So you say, I have it. It's something about monetizing and turning it to a viable business model. It's completely
else. So I wanted to touch on the business model, and this is the last thing I'm going to ask. Go through the entire panel here. If there's one thing today in your business model that is hurting you the most, what is it in the region in terms of a cost? What is it? Yeah, if there's one line item in your business case today that's hurting you the most within the region, what is it? Yeah, but I mean, which one? Which one? What in specific? Bandwidth. You said bandwidth. Okay. Mohammed?
Same here. It's a CDN and bandwidth cost.
Okay. I have a feeling you're going to say the same thing.
Yeah, but I mean, I would add to that you know, it's a good thing that the internet exchange is being started up by Do, because I think this is one of the things that in this region it's quite stressful to actually try to get content, OTT, into all these different countries. It's a challenge on its own. And the actual peer-to-peer relationships between the telcos should actually be arranged through, you know, whether it's a GCC or an Arab forum, it should just be sorted out because it's not good. It's hurting everybody.
Hiba?
Just to give you...
Yeah, I'm sorry, before I go.
Just to give you an idea on cost. To uplink 1 meg on the network from Slovakia, it's $6 a month. To uplink 1 meg here, can anyone tell me?
A lot of money.
It's over $1,000 a month. It's ridiculous.
Okay, that's
so,
big.
I mean, you've totally killed any ambitious entrepreneurs who want to do something here, who want to create and deliver content online or do whatever. It's totally, you've eliminated all this opportunity. That's why you see a lot of creativity being produced outside.
Yeah, of course.
There's none of that.
And Hiba, do you agree also?
Well, I'll just take one step
And
forward. The reason why is bandwidth so expensive because there's lack of advertising to support it. If the telcos were making more money out of the advertisers because the rates were higher, they could charge less for the service.
There's a lot of fingers pointing at the telco.
Hiba,
do you agree?
on data is key.
Yeah.
Telecom operators, they're buying the bandwidth at $2 a megabit per month and selling it at $500 per megabit per month.
Good for them. So they're making a lot of money. We like them. That's good.
But no one's buying.
But no one's buying. Okay.
No one's buying.
Excellent. Thank you all. And I'm sure we could keep this discussion going, but clearly we've touched on some heated points here and a lot of emotion coming out. But I appreciate you all coming up here, joining in and contributing your thoughts. And thank you to the audience and, of course, the organizers for making this possible. Thank you.